As individuals, we tend to focus only on what we feed our bodies with, to the point of obsessing it. But do we ever take the time to focus on what we fill our hearts or our spirits with? If you want to renew your mind, then paying attention to this area is of critical mass. Welcome to my podcast, Giving You a Fresh Start After Trauma. I'm Regina Sanchez, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Starting over after trauma can be a blend of real pain and some hope, sadness and then some joy. It's a mixture of moments of faith and then moments of fear. There will be times when you'd rather not remember, but then times of excitement. You may fail along the way, but if you keep moving forward, your discouragement will turn to peace. Some days you may feel like giving up, and other days you're running in your race to victory. That, my friend, is a journey of having a fresh start after trauma. And if you are in any of these places and need some encouragement, you have stopped at the right place. Let's journey together to giving you a fresh start after trauma. Join me now to be revived, rejuvenated, and restored to a place of living free from your past emotional pain. Welcome, friends, to my podcast, Giving You a Fresh Start After Trauma. I have a message for you that is to help you declutter your mind and your heart. So let's get started. Back in the mid-'80s, when I was dating my ex, and we would be watching television, the minute a commercial would come on, he'd get all annoyed and he'd get up from the couch and say, "I'm not watching this propaganda." I found it so annoying, and I used to think, oh my gosh, get over it. It's just a commercial. Well, used to think is the key word. I don't think that way any longer. I actually believe he had some truth in how he felt, especially from one who escaped from a communist country. Now, I don't get annoyed like he did, but I will silence the commercial to not have to listen to it, especially those drug commercials. Well, back in 2020, when there was all this propaganda coming to light about, oh my gosh, about everything, whether it was the election, whether it was COVID, the vaccine, human trafficking, it all was just, it seemed to be flooding out there. Well, I began to do some research on human trafficking and pedophilia rings. It is something that's on my heart, and to know that women and children are being abused in this fashion is heart-wrenching for me. So I began to dig a little because I found it so disturbing. I do have such a strong passion for these little children and women who've been subjected to this. Well, many people just put their heads in the sand when it comes to this issue. I even had a family member say, "I don't want to hear it." It's just so sad because it's a reality and it's happening daily everywhere. Well, what's my point in sharing this? Well, my research back in 2020, I found that it was stated that the CIA has control over Hollywood, and they create movies to kind of numb us of issues that are about to come to light years later. For example, I am not a Simpson watcher. I've never been a Simpson watcher, nor ever will be. But I would see clips in this documentary that I was watching. I would see clips of these shows from years ago, years ago, depicting what was actually happening at that moment. It was really disturbing. So I came to understand that there is a level of brainwashing us and numbing us to issues. When we watch them in our shows and then they begin to happen around us, we think it's no big deal, or we're just numb to it. And many even fall into cognitive dissonance. Now, I do not watch sitcoms, and frankly, I don't even watch TV. I very selectively watch movies, and when I do, they must be uplifting, encouraging, and one that gives me hope. Why? Because there is so much violence and tragedy and fighting and drug abuse and child abuse and human trafficking and lying and pedophilia happening in the world that I don't need to be entertained by it. For years, I lived in fear. So why would I watch a movie that would tap into fearful things? For example, a Stephen King movie would never be on my watch list. I just wouldn't put myself through that. I wouldn't want to raise up my cortisol levels or put myself in that fight or flight issue with my body from a movie. Well, I have an organizing client that I worked with actually back in 2020, and she still keeps in touch with me. And not for organizing, but actually for friendship. And she and I will meet for coffee or lunch to discuss the goodness happening around us. And she always refers great movies to me. Well, she just referred one a few weeks ago that I just finished watching, and it was called Soul on Fire. It was so good, and it was based on a real life happening, a real life story. Well, it was about a family whose son John was playing with matches and gasoline, go figure, right? And he ended up getting burned 100% over his body. And the movie talked about his redemption and the work he now does to motivate and encourage people. Well, John had a father that was really wise, and his father loved his family and especially John. And the father had absolutely no ill will against the fire his son started, which actually burned their house and his son. When John was in college, his father came to visit him, and they were walking on the grounds of the college, and John's father said this to him: "You can't always choose the path you walk, but you can choose the way you walk it. So when things aren't going your way, if you focus exactly on loving the life you are living now, not the life you think you could have or should have had, that's the whole deal right there." Wow. It caused me pause. Actually had to rewind it. I had to get my journal. I had to write it down. Because we tend to be on a path that we've not chosen, that we don't like, and we tend to complain about it. But what John's father was saying to him was, love your life where you are right now. That's the whole deal. And John's father didn't realize how much John needed to hear that message. But that's just the way wise parents are, and a wise child would take heed to it. We all have times in our life when we are on a path or a journey that we just don't like. But the key is to choose the way you walk in it. Will it be full of complaining and looking at what you don't have? Or will you take a deep breath and look at the good around you? The other day I was working with someone who was so full of pain, and rightly so. The things happening in her life are not the best right now. But the problem was that she kept rehashing the same things over and over again. I had to shift her to another place. So dead in her tracks, I told her, be still. And I want you to take a shift right now. And I want you to give me 2 things in your life right at this moment that are good. Well, she responded, which I wasn't surprised, but she responded, there aren't any. I said, that's a lie. Stop talking and give me 2 things that are good in your life right now. Well, after some silence and a few minutes, she did say something, not even realizing it was a good thing. I said, okay, there you go. That's number 1. Now give me a second one. And she did. I was in no way judging her because I lived most of my life that way. When tragedy is around you, it is so hard to find goodness. But let me tell you, there is goodness, even in the midst of trauma. Even in the midst of turmoil or problems or issue, there is goodness. And by letting go and letting God work in your heart is truly the only answer. He will give you His grace to accomplish that shift. And so just like we need to give our bodies nutrition, we must feed our spirits. If we have a diet of processed foods or fast foods, it's going to affect our overall health in time. Well, the same goes with our spirits. If we're feeding our spirits with music that's loud, harsh, and full of words that are nasty, or we watch movies that are full of violence or obscene content, we are not filling our spirit with healthy things. So let me ask you, what are you filling your mind, your heart, and your soul with? What movies or programs do you watch? What music do you listen to? And let me just tell you, that's a whole nother teaching. What voices do you allow to speak over you? If friends or partners criticize you often or speak not so nice things to you, ask yourself if they're truly your friend, or are they truly a partner in your life? Jesus said something really, really radical in the book of Matthew. He said to his disciples, if anyone will not welcome you or listen to your words, leave that home or town and shake the dust off your feet. What dust do you need to shake off your feet? That's not bitterness. It's not giving up. It's just accepting reality and moving forward. When we need healing from past emotional pain or trauma, it is critical, my friends, it's critical to fill yourselves with people who speak truth in a loving way, or who encourage you, who love you and come alongside you. If people don't speak truth to you, then are they really a friend? In summary, it is important to be sure that what we're watching or listening to is not re-traumatizing us because of its violence or fear-filled words. Spend some time thinking of what you fill your spirit with, and perhaps do some decluttering. Well, thank you, friends, for taking a few moments to listen to this message. I hope it shed some light and gave you a little bit of truth and maybe some reality to some changes that maybe you need to make in your life. If you find that you're full of emotional imbalances and you're up and down and your emotions are like a yo-yo and one day you're feeling happy, next day you're depressed or whatever, perhaps you need to look at what you're feeding your spirit with. So be blessed, friends. Be encouraged. Share this message with anyone that you might think could benefit from hearing it. Otherwise, I hope this message blessed you and that you know that you are loved by the Father, and I love you as well. Thanks for listening. God bless. Thank you, my friends, for taking the time to listen to my podcast. I hope you found it uplifting and encouraging, and that it guides you to having peace, love, joy, and health in your life. If you would like more information on my coaching programs, then go to my website, reginasanchez.com, where you can see the services I offer to give you a fresh start after trauma. You can also find my book, Can I Have Your Heart, Daddy, on Amazon. It is my personal journey back to the heart of my Heavenly Father. Be blessed, be encouraged, and know that you are loved.